Hi guys, welcome to MasterView Portals. My name is Aldo and I will be showing you guys around. Okay, so now that we know how to use the main navigation, let's dive into how to make a client profile and how to build a quote and an estimate. So we first have to start with the client. Let's come back to John. Let's just give him some information, john@email.com. We'll sign him to us. We'll hit a quick refresh and John is right there. So this is what it looks like when you just create a client. Now you can see there's no projects, so let's click on him. This is one way you can go into client profile, and you're greeted here with client's projects, and this shows all of the projects that are for that client. A client can have many projects, of course. So let's start by adding a project, and let's say he wants a kitchen remodel. Go with that. Okay guys, so now we are ready to dive into the client profile. So I'll show you how to make estimates, quotes, all of that. So first we need a client. So let's bring John back over here. 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll make it at john@email.com and we'll assign John to us. So we'll hit a quick refresh. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you just create a new client that has no project. So we have John here, no projects. We can click into him. And you're brought here in the client project subtab, and there's no projects. This is where you can see all of the projects for that client. A client can have many projects, right? So let's create a new project. Let's make let's give it some information. Let's do a bathroom remodel. Project type remodel, and we'll do it at some address, right? Doesn't matter. Notes. You can add some notes. Let's say if must not call at 10 a.m. I don't know. Maybe John has a meeting. You can add that. And then for crew, this is basically where if you want to invite other staff to also be kind of like assigned to this project, but this is project based. So when you're assigning staff, you're assigning a staff to the client. When you're assigning crew, you're assigning a crew to a project. So for now, we'll just leave it blank and we'll create the project. And now you can see that John now has this bathroom remodel project. So we click into it. And now we can see we have so many more subtabs. So I'm about to explain you all of them, so do not worry. So this is a breakdown of the projects. Right now we have a single project which is this bathroom remodel. So let's look at this activity. This activity subtab is the overview of the project. You have just some basic, more price breakdowns, a little bit more complicated. We have the project total. We have the contract total, which the contract total is the estimate or the quote that was sold. And you have change orders, which are built on top of the quote that was sold. And the project total is both of these combined, right? And then we have the total paid, which is how much John has already paid. And then a balance is just the difference between the project total and how much he already paid. So now here we have some basic information about the project that you inputted, and here you can change the status of the project, you can add crew members, all of that. Here's the information of the client himself, which is John. Here we have a payment breakdown. We offer you can split payments into 4, and I'll show you guys that later on how to set that up. And here we just have some notes. We have some more detailed notes. Must not call at 10 in the morning. Quick notes. Quick notes, if you added this, let's say John is cool. If we save that, here is where the quick notes show up, right? And so it's kind of like you can see it from the projects tab. So you don't have to actually click into here if you want to see a bunch of these quick notes for a bunch of different clients, all of that. So that is the difference between quick notes and notes. And then here's the client documents. These components are around the website, are around the application, and they make a contract for you. I will show you guys in a different video on how to do that and how to set that up. But that is the activity tab. Now let's go on over to the lookbook tab. This lookbook tab is basically like a notepad when you go over to client and ask them what they want. This is kind of your sandbox for information that you can get from the client, all of that. So we can add a question, let's say, or like a label for this question. Let's say budget. And let's say the client said he can do, let's say, 10K, but would prefer to stay under 5K. Something like that, And it is now saved. And you can print these out, and it's just a notepad basically for you that you could put in any questions, any answers. If you want another space to jot down notes, do whatever you want here. And now we can go over to the selection. This is where you can show your catalog to your client. So you'll set this up. You'll set up what you can have shown in your catalog in the admin tab. Again, we'll go over that in a separate video. But assuming you already have stuff in here, for example, this toilet, you can show the client what, let's say, products you'll offer, or if you want to show them pictures of specific items and stuff like that. So you can show them, hey, there's this toilet. You can click in to get some more information. And let's say if they like that toilet, you can heart it, and it will save here. If we come on over here to the summary, it'll save what options the client liked, and also give you a breakdown of also the questions and that info as well. So this is just a place to show your clients your catalog, and you can save options that they liked, or maybe that they might want to do, might not, all of that. All right. Okay, now if we come on over here to Contract Builder, this is the start of the big stuff. This is the big leagues. This is where you make an estimate, basically. So you build a contract, just like it said. So here we show the options that your workspace offers for labor and for materials, right? Right now, I only inputted basic stuff you need for this demo. So we're doing the bathroom remodel, right? We're going to want a toilet. We're going to want some tiles, super basic stuff. And let's say you're also charging $100 for an install of the toilet, and then let's say the removal of the old toilet and the old tub and whatnot already came with it. Just can add those straight on, just like that. And in the in current quote sections, show you what you've added to the to this estimate already. So here we can see what you've added, and now we have some payment breakdowns. Here we have just labor subtotals, you have material subtotals, there's a materials tax. You can set what percentage you want in the admin tab. You can add a multiplier for whatever reason if you need a little bit more margin, less margin, all of that. Here we have just a total of both the materials and labor that are in the current quote, and tax is already calculated in that. You can add a start date if you want to select a start date, if you want to offer that information to your client, if you want to tell them, hey, we think we can start this tomorrow, and it's going to take, let's say, half a week or something like that, input that in there. We also have, this is where you can split up the payment, this is like a payment plan, right? You can say, hey, John needs to pay it all at once, set just first payment 100%, meaning the 100% of the total will be paid during the first payment. If you wanted to say, okay, we can split it up into 2 payments, We could set this down to 50%, bring this up to 50, and now you have, now the total is split up between two payments. And finally, do not forget to save this draft. So let's call it estimate 1. Not a great name, but it'll do. We'll create the draft. Sweet, it is saved. Now if we come on over here to this drafts tab, this is where you can see all the drafts and different versions and whatnot that you've created. Right now it's made estimate 1, perfect. Now here you can see when you select a version, you can see a couple options. You can set a version active, you can mark it sold, or you can delete it. These are very important. Versions are marked sold when you've sold a contract and you want to move to change orders instead of modifying the quote itself. That's very important. Secondly, both change orders and drafts and estimates, basically, they need to be marked active to be that's the information that is being counted in this application, right? So let's say if we come over here back to contract and we wanted to make a new estimate, a brand new, right here it says editing. We don't want to edit that one. We want to reset the items and make a new draft. Here I'll go over quickly what these buttons do. Reset items deletes all of these items that are in the quote, just gets rid of them. But you can see it's still editing the estimate. I'll show you why that's important later. If you want to not be editing an estimate and create an estimate from nothing, press the new draft. You can also create the new draft while keeping the items in there. All of that is valid, but we're making a brand new draft and resetting the items. And let's say we were doing just a toilet install and removal, and that's it. We'll call this toilet only. Now if we come over to drafts, you can see that now the toilet only is marked green, which means that is the active one. So if we come to activity, you can see that we might need to set it active. Here's the project total for that draft, right? So if we look up toilet only, we can see that the grand total is 286, right? Here, I think, actually, so we can have a little difference. We'll do just removal toilet, not toilet install. Toilet install only. And here, we'll delete this one. I'm going to show you. This project total is 146. All this information is based on the active draft. Not this other estimate that we made, which the total is 289. That one's not counting because it's not active. If you want to use that estimate, you have to set that one as active. Now, we can come over here to the materials tab. This is another sandbox-like tab. This is basically, this doesn't actually affect the quote. Here you only basically make little changes or add notes to certain materials or labor, or add links and do all of that type of stuff. So let me show you how it works. So for a quote, we can revise it basically. And this again doesn't affect these numbers are just for what's in this tab. These don't affect the actual numbers for the project. So here you can mess around, you can change the quantity and kind of be like, okay, to the client, hey, this is the quote that we wanted. We made the quote. And now here we can mess with your budget. Let's say if we wanted 2 of the toilets and 3 tiles or something like that. You know, you can mess with that here. You can see the difference in price. You can add links if you wanted to add a specific link to that toilet. Let's say if you wanted to add notes. Let's say tiles, you need to split it up into let's say installation and removal. Press split. Tiles, we'll do tiles install, and we'll call this one tiles removal. And then right over here, we have to make a new draft name. Let's say revised toilet only. And we'll save that. And it's automatically moved it up. It's set that as active, but we can come over here and see that it did not mess with the actual quote. The project total is still the same as it was. It was not affected by what we messed with the quantity in over here. We're saying if instead of having one toilet, we added 2 toilets and we added 3 tile removal ones and we added this tiles install, here's the difference in price. And you can see that certain items in the revised are linked to the items that are actually in the contract. I would also like to disclaim that these items are only from the materials. So if we come on over here, if we look at the materials that are in the current quote, you see we have toilet and tiles. That's it, not this toilet install, none of that. So if we come on over to the materials tab, we only have toilet and tiles. You can delete these and you can see that they are no longer being revised. Now if you want to add it back, you just drag and drop and add that. Let's say if we wanted this, we'll say revised part 2 and save that. This is basically where you can mess around and all of that. There is one important function, and I will go over that when we go to payments, after I've explained a little bit on payments. So we can come over here to the payments tab, and this is more the financial part of the client's profile. You have, again, basic breakdown of some totals. And now, let's say you wanted to record a payment saying, hey, John paid us the $2,000, we have a check, and we want to record that. We can say, okay, we got it, not tomorrow, we got it today. Let's say he paid us $2,000, type of payment, let's say it was a check, and it was received by me. Or you could say it was received by some other employee, all of that. For little description, let's say a project payment. If you wanted to add some notes, you can add that. If we press add, it records that payment, and we can see that he paid $2,000. This scenario, I realize it doesn't really make sense that he paid $2,000 if the project was only $289 and whatnot. So we can see that the total, he actually overpaid, so we probably owe him that now, right? But that's how you record payments. And now we have this other section for outgoing payments. This is also more experimental. This is, let's say, if you need to order extra materials, outside materials that you don't offer. Let's say they wanted a specific toilet. Let's say that cooler toilet that we saw earlier in the lookbooks. And let's see if we come over here to materials and we revise this toilet, and let's say turns out it's not $98.95. Turns out the expensive one that they wanted was $400. And we save that. If we now come on over here to the payments tab, we can pick a revised material and we can see this toilet, and it auto-completed the name, how much it was, and the quantity. And let's say we placed this order on the 11th, and you could add a tracking number if there's one. You could add the link to the site. We can add whatever you want. Now if we edit it, we can now see that it was recorded here. But if you saw, it did not affect any of these numbers up here. This is basically just experimental if you need an extra recording system for other outside payments. Okay, now we can come on over here to the attachments tab. This is a tab where you can basically record. It's kind of like a digital file system, And these attachment folders are set up in the admin workspace setup. Again, we'll go over that in a separate video. But this is where you can upload, let's say, in this scenario, signed contracts for this client's profile. We can upload that right here, and it'll save it for this client. It's just organizational. If, let's say, you needed to render a 3D model of the bathroom, you can attach that here as well. This is just a digital file system. All right, now let's look at what happens when a project is marked sold. So you can either mark it sold over here, right? Sold. There's a couple places to mark it sold here in the activity tab, or even in the drafts tab. So let's come on over here. Let's say this revised toilet draft is the one that John liked and he was happy. So he gave it the go. We can mark that sold. Now you can no longer make quotes. And you can see that our contract builder, quote builder tab is gone, and it was replaced by this change orders. So now in the contract workflow, we've moved on to change orders, basically modifications to a contract. And you can't no longer edit the contract itself. You can just basically apply a band-aid on top of it, a change order that says the changes that you're doing to that contract. So change order works very similarly to the quote builder. This looks very similar. However, let's say you're changing this toilet and you wanted to, turns out he didn't want the toilet, he just wanted to do tiles. Toilet, remove toilet, toilet. You need to remove the tub though to get the tiles, let's say. You can see it's recording the changes that you're making and making it very nicely visible. And you can now save this as a change order. You can see here's the new total. And basically by removing these items, you gotta probably refund John now. And you can save this change order. Let's say only tiles. And if we create this change order, we can come on over here, and here's a change order, and it is by default marked active. And we can now come to the payments, and we can see that the change orders total is now applied to all of our price breakdowns. And you can see that the original contract was $289. However, he no longer wanted the toilet install, so the adjusted price is here, and this is the new project total. We can also additionally mess with the change orders in the materials tab right here, just the same way we did with quotes. It's like a sandboxy place, and you can once again record outgoing payments there. And again, if you, let's say, wanted to come over here to only tiles, and you wanted to actually reset the changes, you can press the reset button. However, you're still technically modifying the only tiles change order, but you can start over. Or if you wanted to make a brand new change order, you can click that right here. Let's say if you had a long list and some items were modified and some were not, and you wanted to see just the ones that were modified, you can click here to show changes, and it'll only show you the items that you've modified. You can specifically modify just the price. Again, that comes up. All of that good stuff. And now the project is marked sold. So once it's marked sold, you can't edit the draft. So make sure you remember that, and you move on to this change orders workflow now. This is basically the client profile, and it's a little complicated sometimes, but you'll get used to it, and it's powerful. It allows you to do everything you need to do pretty legally too, right? That's the important part. You don't want to be modifying contracts, so you can apply a change order. All of that is set up for you right here. And here we can, if we go back to clients projects, the total cost is updated, all of that, and this project's marked sold, and everything is reflected. If we come back to the projects tab, it's marked sold, the new project cost is here, all of that is reflected perfectly. And next video, I believe we will be going over the workspace setup in the admin tab.